Better than I sound, I'm sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today's hearing covers two different items. The first item I will address is H.R. 1065, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. Since we considered this bill last Congress, it will be familiar to our returning members. The premise of this bill is one that I think all of my colleagues can get behind. The idea that there should be legal protections in place to protect pregnant women from discrimination. Certainly, pregnant workers should no longer be forced to choose between job security and their health or the health of their unborn child. I understand that today's bill is identical to the version of the bill we considered last year. I was pleased to learn that the bill was the subject of bipartisan negotiations between Chairman Scott and Ranking Member Fox, and that they have reached a bipartisan agreement on all points except one. The lone point of disagreement is over an exemption for religious organizations. I understand that Republicans on the Education Labor Committee proposed an amendment to add this exemption, and it was unfortunately not accepted. While I'm supportive of this bill, I'm also supportive of adding this religious exemption. And I would urge the committee to grant a rule that allows for a vote on this exemption on the floor. I look forward to hearing testimony on this bill and the exemption specifically during our discussion today. The second bill under consideration is H.R. 2547. That originated in the Financial Services Committee. This legislation is actually a collection of 8 bills that all deal with debt collection practices. As with our first item, I don't think there are any members who would disagree with the fundamental premise that debt collection practices must be fair. Fortunately, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is already law and has been since the 1970s. Little in this bill would actually improve debt collection for everyday Americans. In general, the package before us today would fundamentally restructure the consumer credit market and make it much more difficult for businesses, particularly small businesses, to collect legitimate debts and to be paid for services rendered. This would have the unfortunate effect of making credit more expensive for all borrowers and could potentially make credit inaccessible to low-income borrowers. As we consider how best to reform our current credit system, we must be careful to ensure a balance between protecting consumers, ensuring that legitimate debts are paid, and ensuring that credit remains accessible to all. Today's package does include one provision that is both necessary and bipartisan. The package includes the text of the Fair Debt Collection Practices for Service Members Act, a bill that passed the House last Congress by a unanimous vote. This bill would ensure key protections for our service members so that they are not subjected to inappropriate harassment from debt collectors. I hope it will again come to the floor for an independent vote, allowing all members the opportunity to once again make their support known. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you very much. Appreciate